Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. So, just little old me today. Still no guests. Could probably rectify that somehow. Don't know. Something over the internet maybe. But today, no guests. There'll be games, movies and TV if that's what's been happening in the last week. There'll also be something from the last week. Because, that's how it rolls. There's been enough of these now that you know the format, so you know. YouTube watchers. If you're watching us on YouTube, just subscribe while you're there, won't you? Because that's a nice thing to do, and you're a nice person. I believe in you. Go on. Cool. So here we go. This is CookieCast, Darkest Timeline podcast. Right, tighty. I don't know how many times I've said that at the start of the podcast. Spend 5 minutes to set it up, spend 5 minutes to set it up, then don't spend 5 minutes setting it up. That's not even true, I did spend 5 minutes and then it still was wrong, so I had to make an adjustment. Hello! I don't know if you can hear that. I will have just received a text message back from Leanne saying, oh yeah. So, don't know if you can hear it. I don't know how much the microphone picks up and doesn't. But yeah, just because it's raining, don't let that stop you using your pool in England. So, another week gone. Where has it gone? Gone into the annals of time. Annals? Is that right? Yeah, it is now. So, I mean, you must be able to hear that. Another week off. Not from podcasting. Another week off from working. A joy to behold. And leagues better than the last week. I will say this: when it's better, when the week off is better, I will admit that the time after that is worse. Feel like I'm maybe dealing or struggling with some kind of like mini depression, maybe. Just down to recognising a lot of the signs. Seem to be like randomly really tired at random points. Don't seem to be able to find any joy in anything really. Computer games, which we'll come to weirdly enough. Other hobbies or pursuits that I may be undertaking currently. Working out. I really do not have the appetite for working out at the moment. It really is a chore and a drain. But on the flip side, it does make the rest days more enjoyable. Yeah, it's just that. It's kind of natural, I suppose. You have a week off and it's a nice week and you enjoy yourself, you have a nice time. And then that stops being a thing. I think everybody could understand that. It's been a little worse. Yeah, I don't know. I went back to work today, which is always a bit of a... I'm sort of waiting for the laptop to log on. I'm waiting for my emails to work. I'm waiting for the system to start up just to sort of see the level of damage that I have to deal with. It really was a 50-50 kind of situation. But by the time I started my week off, I was ready for some time away from work. I'm one of possibly few people who has really not minded working from home. Unfortunately for me, the work I've been doing is quite draining. It drains me quite substantially. And yeah, I mean, with that comes a lot of other things. So I don't know, maybe it's a mixture of things, the way I've been feeling. I'd definitely say there's something there. And in a lot of ways I'm able to rally. I still do the workout, even though, it does feel very much like the last thing I want to do. I am still playing computer games, I'm still doing other pursuits and hobbies, but the joy doesn't seem to be there, is all I can say. I think I've reached that point with working out where I just don't see the point to it. I'm not doing anything else. There's no cardio to speak of, and none of the other things that I know I should be doing I'm doing. So working out feels largely redundant, and then now I feel like I don't want to do it as well. It starts that sort of thought and feeling, and where it starts to creep in, where you start going, maybe I'll just not bother. Maybe I'll do that. So there. But there was a week off, so hit a couple of museums. Did a little bit of the strawberry picking. I'm gonna have to tell you about something that happened that was amazing. Went to the Yorkshire Museum of Farming. Which, now I think about it, I've already told you about, because that will have been last week, and that'll be why it's not on my list. Let me check. It's on last week's list. I don't need to tell you about the Yorkshire Museum of Farming. I can skip straight to the Yorkshire Air Museum, Elvington Air Museum, as some would maybe call it. A lot of the stuff in the last week was largely centred around close to home. The tickets that were bought specifically because they give you a year, so could go back to the Museum of Farming again, and can also go back to the Air Museum, which I absolutely will be, but we'll get to that. Pardon me. So, went to the Air Museum. I haven't been for 30 years, 28, 30 years or something. My auntie, her dad used to volunteer there. Something, if I was in a position to do it, I would actually consider volunteering there. I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't know if the people that are there get paid for it. From what I remember, it was back in the day, it was a volunteer thing. They've done amazing work to combat the virus. It's all one way, masks on the inside, you can not wear masks on the outside. Toilets, there's 2 blocks of toilets. Alcohol hand gel. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. Hand sanitizer. Jesus. I think the brain rebooted on that one. Freaking normal. Hand sanitizer on the way in. Hand sanitizer while you're in there. Hand sanitizer on the way out. Boom. One of those things. Went to the Air Museum because my middle daughter has suddenly got this real obsession with planes. So we'd had an idea to go to the airport. Yeah. When me and my sister were little, we used to go to Manchester Airport for the day out. And I know how that sounds, but it was the best day out. You'd go and you'd sit and you'd watch planes take off and land, move around the airport, all sorts of stuff. It was fantastic. So we'd actually thought about doing that, and then realised that nowadays you wouldn't actually be able to get through to see the plane, so you'd have to maybe like go somewhere near to where they sort of take off and land and just sit in the car. As you sort of go through that idea, it gets less and less fun for little people. So that was that. Well, you know, there is the Air Museum. It's down the road. We can go there. And in my head, I'm like, you know, it's planes. They've got planes. But we went. I was a bit like, I don't know if this is the right idea. You know, when you go to the deep, it's like, there's fish. Look at the fish. Everybody likes fish. Cool. Look, there's a shark. Look, there's a whatever. Look, there's Dory. That sort of thing. Everybody's going to love that. Cool, let's go and look at some planes. Probably doesn't fall into the category of everybody's going to love it. The one person I thought who might not enjoy it, who was very accommodating, my eldest was like, we can go, I'm happy to go there. Like, yeah, sort of thing. As it was, she said it was one of the best days out she'd had. I don't know if that was true, but that's what she said, so we have to take that on face value. Oh, do shut the fuck up. Fuck's sake. It's non-stop. Anyway, so I went to the everything. Got there. It was all one way. We all had masks. We went in, and it's one of those things that the other thing that I was a bit like, oh, are we going there? I wasn't sure if we were going there because I wanted to go. Because I know that once we got there, I just started geeking out hard. Like, real hard. Like, reading all the signs, reading them out to the girls. Oh, look at this. This is a tall boy bomb. It was like 6.2 meters long. It was freaking huge. And just sort of like talking about like what they were used for and this and then explaining about like a tall boy was used to get through. It was a 10-ton bomb. Incidentally, it was used to get through concrete bunkers. And they had like a wheel from a Concorde, so it was like talking about Concorde and how its capabilities and how it was taken out of service and so on and so forth. There was a picture of the cockpit that was just insane. We were like, can you imagine trying to find the one dial that you needed? And there was just a shed load of planes. The one thing that really struck me, they had two massive planes parked at one end of the runway. But it was things like, you look at a lot of these planes and when you see them in the sky, it's like, oh, look at that little plane. But planes are freaking huge. Well, you go and stand next to them and they're massive. And there was a lot of World War II stuff, a lot of stuff from the wars and from the that time. A lot of they had a lot of propellers that were like mangled, and the fact that Elvington was a working airbase during the war. So like a lot of the propellers that were on display were from Elvington. Went into the Rose Garden, and when we were in the Rose Garden I was reading a lot of the plaques, and it was more to do with like not the people that were fighting so much, but the people that were transporting goods and ammunition and things like that, things that the war needed. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit emotional at that point in time. Just the thought of it all, just the people at that time, the people that were just getting on and doing. We were talking about. I was saying there was a point when we were talking about ammunition and women and things, and saying that the majority of the ammunition that was fired in the war was made by women, because the men went off to fight the war, leaving all the jobs at home. So there was this thing when we went to the museum farm, it was like women did the farming, and the land girls and things like that. I was like, ammunition was made by women in factories and stuff. And I know that there was, it wasn't exclusively women, but there was a lot of women. And it sort of got me thinking. It got me to a point where I started thinking about how, if we were in a situation now, thinking about like the what we've been through with the virus, and I spend far too much time watching videos about people who refuse to wear masks. A lot of it's American, but I've seen a lot of people in England in shops that haven't got masks on. And I just think, everything that you see and you hear about this time, people refusing to do things, not doing things, not prepared to do things, and the arguments and the fights and the Karens and the Kevins that appear. Can you imagine taking all of those people back to that time? Something that really, I don't know why, but it's something that I think about quite a lot at the moment, is like in the Blitz, when people would be sitting in their houses just listening to the planes in the dark, listening to the bombs drop, listening to what could be the last sound they ever hear. You don't know that the next one could be yours, could have your name written all over it. And then sort of tying that back into nowadays and thinking, if we had a world war now that wasn't a nuclear world war, the majority of people would be wiped out instantly, because they'd just be going on about how it's against their rights, and then they get blown up, and that'd be that. And it's just, I think that people had a level of fight, determination, just duty, or I don't know what. Their lives were being threatened by an oppressive force, and they acted accordingly. And I'm sure if that was a situation now, that people would find a way. But yeah, can you imagine when we've got to turn the Wi-Fi off tonight because we might get bombed back to the Dark Ages. Well, how am I supposed to get on Instagram? Stuff like that. It's, I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was. I don't know what. Other than reading all these plaques about all these people that achieved so much, it was quite an emotional experience. We went into part of the museum that was dedicated to the bouncing bomb and the first female Air Force pilot. Me and my elders were talking about the Wright brothers, because she's learned a bit about them. I personally found it to be an extremely enjoyable experience, which is why I am a bit like, was it boring for them? And I will definitely be going back. When you've got little kids, you don't want to be stood there reading all the signs and stuff. I did read a lot of them, and it was incredibly interesting. The older I get, the more I find it fascinating. I've looked into some books and things, most around the Second World War, because I feel that it was it was this huge thing, and I don't know enough about it. I know a little bit about it, just what I imagine most people know. And I've seen, programs and the odd sort of thing here and there, but it is something that I feel like I want to know more about. So yeah, I think me and the baby. Speaking of, I've realised in the last few days that I can't call her the baby anymore. So I'm updating her name just to keep you abreast of the situation. The baby will now be known as the toddler. Although I already know that I'll just call her the baby. But yeah, she is a toddler now. She toddles. It's hilarious. She is hilarious at the moment. Just walks out the room and says bye, which is just funny. And other such amusing little people things. So that was the air museum. Took the toddler to get some shoes. One of those things that, if I'm honest, was a little disappointing. Because I made a big deal about it. I was like, oh, it's a real big thing, Now that she's walking, she'll need a proper pair of shoes. She's got more pairs of shoes than I have. That is not even remotely, and I don't mean like she's got 3 pairs of shoes. I mean, she's got like 8 or 9 pairs of shoes. No joke. I can see 3 pairs of shoes. One of them I don't use. They're my old running and gym shoes. I don't use them anymore because I have new ones. Other than that, got another pair of shoes. Baby's got like loads of pairs. But I was like, it's a thing, you got to take them and you got to get them fitted, you got to get them feet measured, you got to get them in the right pair of shoes. It's a thing, so let's do it because she's walking now, so she needs a proper pair of shoes. And I was like, it's this whole thing, and you go and measure the feet, and you get a picture taken, and all this. But it's the new normal now, isn't it? So the new normal is you get to the shoe shop and they're like, have you made an appointment? No. Did just think that maybe might have to book it. Yeah, okay. I can get you in an hour. Right, okay, well, we're going to get a coffee anyway, so we'll go and get a coffee and come back. And we ended up going in the works as well, and then we went to Nero's, because we were going to go to Nero's anyway, so that's fine. And then you go back. Alright, yeah, we'll get you in straight away, cool. Measured her feet. She was a 5G. I'll go and see what I've got. So a few minutes later, Len's like, what are we waiting for again? I was like, ladies, go and see what she's got in that size. She'll just bring a load back. So she did. Open the first box. Little pair of shoes. Right, cool. Open the second box, and the baby's like, wow. That's one of the new things. And they were pink, and they were a bit like her summer shoes, but like a proper pair of shoes, pink, with white soles. And she opened these other couple of boxes, and like she made a comment on one of the other boxes, but it was a bit like, do you want to try the pink ones on? So she tried the pink ones on, they fit, and they look good and stuff. She had a walk around in them, and that was that. So she's like, does she want to wear them? Yeah, she wants to wear them. Very, very unlikely we were going to get them off her at that point. Okay, cool, I'll meet you at the till. And I was a bit like, I thought they were going to do a picture. I've been to a few shoe fittings before. A first shoe fitting. And previously you got, I remember the time when they used to do a Polaroid of the parents and the child. And then it was a digital picture that printed out like a Polaroid. And they put it in like a little card thing, and you keep it, and years later you go, hey look, there's a picture of us and you getting your first pair of shoes. And that's basically that. But it is like a thing, it's like a big thing. That didn't happen. Went to the till, and and they wanted £32 for a tiny pair of shoes. So yeah, we came out and I was like, you've bought 4 pairs of shoes for that much. So yeah, there was that. Don't know how much she's going to wear them because she's got a bajillion pairs of shoes, but it was a thing. It was an experience. We got to see what the new normal was like for buying shoes. It won't be repeated anytime soon. It's a bit like I'm spoilt because it's like, you need a new pair of shoes. Okay, all right, both the other two wanted some sandals, and I'm like, you want sandals? Yeah, I want some sandals. Okay, straight to Asda. I've spent a fortune in boots because I was like, boots they're super reasonably priced for clothes. And then I went to Asda one day and was like, what? It's like, you want reasonably priced clothes? You're spending 3 times as much in boots, mate. It's like, Jesus. So Asda is a go-to in this house for a lot of items of clothing. Managed to get a pair of sandals for both of them for 2/3 of the price of that pair of shoes. So it's things like that. Like I say, won't be repeated anytime soon, so probably don't have to worry about it. So yeah, the baby, the toddler, got some shoes. Something I mentioned earlier, and it's strange for me to mention it at this time when this is not the correct point in time of the podcast to talk about games, but I'm going to talk about something specific to do with games, because I've done a lot of stuff about games over X number of months. There's a gaming podcast, talk a lot about games on a gaming podcast, shockingly, and I talk about games a lot in general anyway, but a subject that has been that I've been quite consumed with for quite some time is not really something that I've overly addressed. Not that I know, I probably haven't. I'm super disillusioned with computer games currently. It's been happening for a while. I can't think what started it. And sitting here now trying to think is not going to make for great podcast listening, so I won't. What I will say is this. Something that really cemented it for me, let's start there, something that really cemented it for me was the PS5 announcement. I've said all along, the PlayStation 4 was, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, this generation of gaming has been the single most lukewarm generation of gaming there has ever been. There has been very few technological advancements. There's been a multitude of reboots and remakes, just like in film and TV. It's lazy, and it's just, give us new money for old rope. When the PlayStation 5 announcement started and the first 2 games they announced was a remaster of Grand Theft Auto 5, which was available on the generation before this one, so you could get it on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And we've had, the PS4 version of Grand Theft Auto 5 is a remaster. I'm trying to see it from here. Grand Theft Auto. I'm starting to wonder if I'm talking bullshit. Was it available on the PS3? I don't know. It feels like it. I might be wrong. But we're getting a remaster of a game. You know, that's the first thing they announced. And the second one was definitely a PS3 game. Dark Souls? Demon Souls? Demon Souls. When those were the first two games they announced, I was like, really? This is how we start our announcement? And it was downhill from there. Not a single game they showed made me go, wow. Not a single thing that they showed. You know, the majority of the stuff was sequels and things like that. We've got this whole Cyberpunk 2077 debacle where that game has been ready for like a year at this point in time, but they keep delaying it and keep delaying it and keep delaying it. But it's nothing to do with the new consoles, don't you worry. Bullshit. It's the games market is largely dead. Is what I want to say. And I'll say so much now, and then I'm going to talk about something else later, because there's a game I played over the weekend, and it highlights to me where we're at. I'm hugely disillusioned, you know, largely around the fact that they're going to want a lot of money for the new consoles. So there's that. They're going to want a lot more money for new games. Now, originally there was a thing released recently saying we're going to charge you more for new games, new console games. My estimate is that they're going to want £60 for console games going forward, and that is ridiculous money. That is silly money. And ultimately, it's too much money for remakes and reboots and games that aren't mind-blowing. And I just think that we're probably doing, you know, the technological advancements that were there have died off in favour of just slapping a number 3 onto a third game in a franchise. You know, that the new Assassin's Creed game looks and sounds worse and worse and worse every time they announce something about it. I saw an announcement the other day that said you can pet cats in the new Assassin's Creed game, and I was just like, oh well, there we go then. How much time did they have to put into programming that one? Apparently there's loads of stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about how hugely disillusioned I am with the games market. So anyway, we'll come back to it very shortly. This week's Pet Love Pet Hate, I had to narrow this week's down. I don't know if I picked the right ones, but yeah, there was a multitude of options for this week. Pet Love. This week's Pet Love is washing my hands. Mentioned this before, but I can't stress this enough. Ever since this whole virus started, and the lockdowns and things like that, and the ins and the outs, and you can go here, you can't go out, you can't go in, you can't go anywhere. You know. When I was going out, you know, you go to the supermarket, I was saying, like, the minute you touch anything, your hands feel dirty. My hands feel dirty. So I got to the point where I started using, like, where available, I started using the hand sanitizer. Now, I've never been a fan of the hand sanitizer because I believe that it kills the low-level germs on your hands, which are the things that actually keep you healthier. You know, we need a little bit of dirt in our lives, ultimately. That's what keeps you healthy. So I was never a fan of the hand sanitizer, but I got to the point where I was like, oh, my hands feel horrible, my hands feel dirty. Maybe the hand sanitizer will help, and it's everywhere now, so, why not use it? And it doesn't do anything. Oh, you rub it in your hands, you do that. That's a hand sanitizer thing, isn't it? You try to dry it because you put too much on. And then, 2 minutes later, I'm like, my hands feel dirty. You get home, you walk through the door, the first thing you do, wash your hands with some soap, give them a good wash, give them a good dry, and they finally feel clean. And you're like, yes, finally. So this week's pet love is washing my hands when I get home, or, whatever. This week's pet hate, I would say it's going to come as a surprise when I tell you what it is. But it's, let me tell you what it is and I'll explain. This week's pet hate is getting kicked in the balls. Now, any man out there right now is like, yeah, I don't think anybody loves it, mate. Although there are people out there that do. I, in the last week, had to say the phrase, can we please stop kicking daddy in the stones? When you got little kids and they don't know what they're doing with their hands and feet. This is the thing, and this is how I know it's a little kid thing, because my eldest doesn't do it. When your kids go and they want a hug and they kind of lie on top of you and you have a hug. Because you're sat in a chair and you sort of lean back and you give them a hug. If my eldest does that, she doesn't kick me in the balls, she doesn't knee me in the balls when she does it. So I know it's a little kid thing, and it must be a height, and it must be because they're all floppy and flimsy and whatever. But the youngest and the middle one spent the entire week just like, I'm going to kick you in the balls, but not enough. Just where it's like a glance, just a little tap. Enough so you know it's happened, but not enough to make you throw up. That kind of level. But it was every time. And it got to the point where when they were coming near me, I was flinching. When you sort of do that thing where you cross one leg across your groin and twist to the side to avoid getting kicked in the balls. I started doing that by the back end of the week. The pair of them, they were just like, hi, I'm here to kick you in the balls. So this week's pet hate is, yes, getting kicked in the balls, but just that little tap. That little tap. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't prefer it if it was a full-blown kick. No, I'd just like it if it wasn't a thing. Yeah. I'm reading a book. Now, I'm not going to tell you about the book. I might have already told you about the book. I'm not going to tell you about the book because I'm going to review it because I've nearly finished it. So once I finish it, I'm going to review it. I have a lot to say about this book. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. It's a book about Metallica. So recently I got to the point where I was like, I fancy listening to some Metallica. There is some Metallica that I do not listen to. I will give you the rundown. I don't listen to the first album. Long story, but ultimately it's bad luck for me. I listen to Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. The Black Album, I say that, I do often end up skipping it. Ultimately, it's because I've heard it too much. I do not listen to Load or Reload, and there's a big part of me that wishes that they didn't exist. Funnily enough, there's a lot in the book about that, and when I review the book I'll mention it. I listened to 3 songs from St. Anger. It's like the first 2 and then The Unnamed Feeling. Death Magnetic and Hardwired to Self-Destruct is all good in my book. That's not. So I went through. I was listening to. I listened to them all, and then I listened to them all again, and I listened to them all again, so on and so forth. I even listened to like some of the other stuff, the EP, Garage Days, S&M, the soundtrack to Through the Never, all sorts of stuff. So I got to the point where I was like, I am now ready for so that's like a musical journey through time. I am now ready for a visual journey through time. So I started with a year and a half in the life of Metallica. Now here it is next to me. Here, listen. That's it right there. It's on DVD. Sat down to watch it, put it into the PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation was like, nah mate, wrong region. I'm like, fuck. It's like, well, I know that my Blu-ray player plays other regions, because it's currently got a Region 1 Blu-ray in it. A DVD in it, sorry. Put the DVD in, press it. Nah. Wrong region, mate. Right, the fuck? Can I find a region on this disc or box anywhere? Can I buggery? So I was like, screw this, I own it, so that should allow me legally to watch it on the internet. I look on YouTube. Sure enough, the whole thing's there on YouTube. It said it was in 4K. I was like, sweet, in better quality. I have watched the first part 1. I've watched all of, and I'm halfway through part 2. I've seen it a bajillion times. I've seen it loads. I used to own the VHS of them when it came as 2 VHSs. One of the things that really stands out is how young Kirk Hammett is. The others, it's kind of like, they're a bit younger. But Kirk Hammett looks like a child. He's got such a baby face. It's hilarious. It's very enjoyable. It's interesting having read this book that I'm reading at the moment, because it kind of gives this other side to that time. And it's mentioned, a year and a half is mentioned in the book. It's good. It was the late 80s, early 90s sort of time. The fashions are a bit interesting. It's aged. It's kind of aged okay. Obviously, there's other things. Things that just the whole Jason Newsted thing. I always felt sorry for Jason Newsted, and the book highlights quite badly how badly he was treated, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's not great. There's that. I'll get it finished up, and then I'm going to move on. I've got Live Shit Binge and Purge to watch, which I was looking before. This is actually sealed and broken. That's interesting. 19. Okay. So, 1989, 1992, 1993. That's interesting. So that, in theory, means that one of them won't have any other stuff from the Black Album, whereas the other two, in theory, should do. Interesting. I might give that a whirl next. And I've got some kind of monster to watch, and Through the Never. I mentioned it before. So I've got those to watch. I'm going to watch those over the next X amount of time. I've been watching the Umbrella Academy Series 2. It's okay. The last episode I watched was very much a nothing episode, which I'm a bit like, why waste my time? Just not have it and just put it into other episodes. But I think that's largely to do with I'm not overly jonesing with this series anyway. So yeah, I've got a pile of films, not a physical pile, most of it's digital. I've got a pile of films that I need to watch. It's just finding the time. Computer games. I'm still playing Ghost of Tsushima. I believe I'm completed the second area. I've saved it at a point where I've got this big like stealth bit to do, but I haven't been back to it for a few days because I've been playing something else. I imagine at this point Ghost of Tsushima is going to start wrapping up because it's broken into 3 areas and I've completed 2 of them. Although saying that, I've only quote unquote completed the first area. It took me 3 attempts to complete the first area, so I imagine that's going to be very similar for this. I imagine it's going to be like, oh, you haven't actually completed the second area. So we'll see. The reason I haven't been playing it, and as I said I've been playing something this weekend, is that I was playing the Avengers beta. Open beta from Friday till I presume today, because it was still working last night. I played it last night. I saw a gameplay trailer for the new Avengers game a while back, and I was like, yeah, it'll be interesting to actually play an Avengers game after all of the Marvel movies and things. The thing that stood out massively was just how linear it was, and immediately I'm like, is this what we want from games these days? Do we want games to be linear? Like, I thought it was the time of the open world game. So I downloaded it, I installed it, and I played it. And admittedly, the first mission was hugely linear because you'd play as like all the characters, all the Avengers. Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, Captain America. You play as all of them. Then something happens, I won't spoil it, and the character that comes into it, like supposedly the main character is Ms. Marvel. So you play as her for a bit. It's not as linear past the first mission, but my review from playing the beta was that this feels like a game that's 2 generations too late. Every side mission is fight a bunch of guys, go into a room, fight a load more guys than you fought outside the room, mission finished. Every single one of them. It's literally rinse and repeat. And the main missions are just bigger versions of that. It feels like it would have been at home on the 360, let's say. It just feels like it's too late for a game like this. Like, to me, it feels like gaming has moved on massively. And this coming from a man who not long ago said that gaming is very stagnant these days. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. This game is priced at £50 at release, and I am telling you here and now, in the next, so it comes out right at the start of September, in the next 6 weeks there will be an announcement that says that Avengers has been one of the highest selling games of this generation, because everybody's going to go out and buy it. Everybody is going to go out and buy that game. Kids, adults, everyone. I'm going to tell you how awesome it is. And it isn't. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but there was a point where like, oh, now you can pick from a few characters. So I was like, cool. One of them was Iron Man. Like, right, well that means I'm never picking another character for the rest of the time I'm playing this game. You know, further into it, I imagine you will get Thor. I'll probably have a bit of a go with Thor, but ultimately, I just want to play as Iron Man. And Iron Man's okay to play as. Yeah. I nearly managed to unlock all of the upgrades for Iron Man in the beta. The beta was done very well. They gave you a lot of content. They gave you a lot of missions to do, and then the idea is that you repeat the missions on a higher difficulty, which again, super lazy. As far as game making's concerned, super lazy. Oh, do the same again, just harder. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Ultimately my review of this game is I don't think I'm going to bother, because I'm not going to give you £50 for what I played on the beta. So that's that. Comes out at the same time as Tony Hawk's, which, if I'm honest, is a game that, and yes, I'm very much aware of what I said before about remakes and reboots. It's a game that I'm more interested in than this new game that's coming out. So that probably says a lot as well. So yeah, don't take my word for it. I think there's another open beta this weekend. I wonder why they're doing that. Oh, why are we today? August. Yeah, 21st till the 24th I saw a thing saying that there was another open beta. Bearing in mind this game apparently comes out, I think it's the 4th, so the 2 weeks after that it's out. I know they'll want to test their servers. There did seem to be a lot of sort of dependence on server stuff, but yeah, it's out shortly, so doing like betas now, don't know. And like me, I've personally been put off by playing the beta, and unfortunately for them, and I don't think they're going to care about my £50, I would have probably bought it if I hadn't have played the beta. And if I'm honest, I don't know how many people are going to go the other way. How many people are going to be like, I wasn't going to get this, but I played the beta and now I'm getting it. I've already pre-ordered it. But again, I might be wrong on that one. That might be a group of people out there like that. That's it for this week. I've already talked to you about working out, and there's nothing to write home about, so that's that really. So yeah, I'll speak to you next time. Bye. So there we go, what do you think's that? Another one done. Whew. Man, getting through the weeks. It's nearly that time. You know what time it is. Halloween. YouTube watchers, do subscribe. I know I keep saying it, I know I'm boring, but it really does help us out. The more subscribers, the more content, the more you've got to watch and listen to. So there, that's how it works. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com, check us out over there, and there's different ways you can get in touch with us. You can wave at the screen. I'm not sure that's the best way, but it is a way. Alternatively, send us something on social media or drop us an email, and we'll get back to you somehow. We might even read your stuff out online. How's that? So that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye, 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 bye.